Hey, how you doing? All right, let's do it to it. Okay. All right. Let's do it to it. White is 2274 and black is 2118. Or 20, sorry, 2274, 2218. So D4, knight F6, C4. So he's going down kind of like a weird type of a French. G6. I think this is a Cataline, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken. Knight F3. If he takes, then we actually have a potential knight C3 and then C E4. A7. Bishop G2. Castles, castles. I notice that the higher level players keep the tension. And so they're not just going to take and relieve the tension. They keep that opportunity. So D takes C4, Queen C2, A6, and then A4, because he wants to stop this here to hold the pawn. So they wait to stop it. Bishop D7, Rook D1, Bishop C6. Knight C3. What you could actually do at this point is potentially play this here. It's kind of an awkward move. Takes, 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 and then after takes you win. So, and if rook takes, pawn takes, knight takes, and so you kind of got a weird line here too, and then these become weak, so you can't play he played knight to d5 to go after this knight. E4, knight takes c3, then b takes c3, then b5. Now he can hold on to the pawn. D5. At this moment, sorry about it, I just have a little bit of allergies. Let's promote the main line. At this moment here, rather than d5, white can go down the knight to e5 line, bishop b7, because you can't trade this off. It's vital to keep control of this knight, this rook. Queen b1, knight c6, knight takes here. This actually wins piece. B takes c, queen takes, forcing moves, knight a5, queen b2. I think we could drop our knight into rook b8, queen c2, knight b3. And this is a pretty big, as they say, cork in the position. Rook b1, you take there, b takes c, queen d7 to go after this pawn. Bishop f1 to go after this pawn. So they're counter striking each other. Bishop a3, rook b1, and queen to c. And then e5 with a slightly better position for white. d5, and then e takes d, knight d4, there is this line that he was talking that just talked about, bishop b7, a takes, rook takes, bishop takes, and then knight e4, knight d7, knight takes, queen b8, knight d4, and then bishop f6, and queen to f5 with an attack here. So bishop f6 was actually played, but like what we talked about, there's actually this move. Bishop b7 could actually be played. A takes, b takes, rook takes again, takes, e takes, knight d7, knight takes here, queen b8, e4, rook e8, knight nope, sorry about that. Bishop e3, e5, rook a1, queen d8, bishop e4, e8 here now, knight c2, and then h5. This is what was played. Knight takes bishop. Surprisingly, this is a dubious move. Very dubious. Better actually would have been to have played pawn takes, bishop e7, knight c6, queen c8, bishop a3 to go after this pawn, this rook, rook e8, rook e1, bishop takes knight, pawn takes, with this decisive, a slightly better to a decisive advantage for white. This is really strong because of that. This really doesn't do anything for white. White just now retaliates with takes, retakes, queen e7, bishop b2 to hold on this pawn to relieve the queen. This queen wants to get free. The only way that it can is to have the bishop protect the pawn. b4. Now this undermines the pawn. f4. Rook a d8. Rook a d1. Rook takes. Of course, the rook's going to take back. Because who would not want to get their rook involved, right? Pawn takes. Bishop takes. And knight to b4. To kind of go after this queen. Bishop takes b4. Queen takes b4. And then e5 trying to dislodge the bishop. Bishop e7. And bishop f1 to go after this pawn here. Bishop e4 was kind of interesting continuation. I think it's about slightly about equal. But the other line that g6 would have had to been played here. King g2, rook b8, d4, queen a3, king h3 to just get out of dodge. Because what he wants to do is actually, if white had gotten greedy and taken here, then it's all over. But to crying with this move here. Because of that. So that's why the king had to go to h3, rook b2. Still, we're still trying to pile up. Queen takes pawn now. Queen e3 here, and then trying to infiltrate right here. Our goal is to get here and then try to gobble this up. Rook d1, so that we can come there when the queen enters here. The rook could come to h8. Rook b4. Boom. Queen takes c. Queen e2. Rook d8 check. Bishop takes. Queen takes. Check. King g, and then f6. King, and I think it's a perpet. That'd be a perpet at that point. Bishop f1 though actually threw the gauntlet back into Black's camp. Black's doing excellent right now. Black is the one who's in theory, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 2, 5. Black's up a pawn. And with bishops of opposite color. The middle game, that reigns supreme. So c3 is forced. Bishop d3. And if you were thinking about taking, because queen then here. And if the rook comes, boom. So I can't do that. You could try after takes here. Now if you got a little greedy, you can't get greedy and take because this queen's so black. It's about equal. h6. So rook rook b8. Excuse me. Bishop b6 check, or queen b6 check. Excuse me. King f1. Queen h6 to kind of take scope on that pawn. h4. Queen e6. Bishop c2. Queen h3. King f2. g6. And rook d3. Rook b4. That takes. Check. King e2. Queen takes. So that's forcing right here. If it involves chess, yes, you may. It has to involve chess. That's what this channel is based on. So G, C6. Hey, how you doing? 360. King F1. Rook B8. Okay. So rook D7. Then Queen A3. Trying to get the queen here and then potentially have a mate. There's a longer line here, so get ready for this. Queen 7, E2, rook B4, A6, King F8, E takes F6, King takes F6, A2 check, Queen A2 check, King F8, Bishop G, G6, Queen C4 check, Queen takes, rook takes, hey. Yeah, Bishop C2. This blockader is vital to stopping white's, black's advance. Otherwise, it's all over but the crying. D6. Now this rook is trapped. Uh-oh. Spaghetti-o. Rook D8. Now he can kind of get out via that way, but not for long. King E7. Rook B8, trying to keep a grip on B3. Rook D4 with infiltration on D2 to try to get this bishop removed. Rook B1, so that if the rook does go come on, the rook does go here, the rook could slide right there. But that could be dislodged by a bishop there, so. I'm just curious why he didn't play this here. For some reason it didn't like that. It liked Queen E6. I don't understand that. Oh, Rook E1 check. Okay. Ah, now he can guard via this way. And guard this bishop that way. Sneaky, very sneaky. Yeah. I wondered why that was. That is a sneaky idea, up and over to guard this. Very, very sneaky, because he can't guard it like this because the bishop would come in and attack it. So he can't do that. So King E6, we're going to promote that to the... Uh-oh. Oops, I'm going to find H6. Ah. Where am I at? Oh, 37, okay. What number? Oh, okay, 27. Let me see here. Ah, bishop B, 3 check. King F5. And Rook D1. Trying to, oops, that's not the move. A4. Rook takes, King takes, King E2. Bishop A3. H3. Bishop E4. H4. H5. King D1. King D3. Queen C2. Check. King E3. Trying to come over and grab this. Bishop G, G6, King F2, Bishop takes H, King takes G, King here, King takes H, Bishop G6, King G3, F5, King F4, King D3, King E5, King C2, King D4, King B3, A5, and King C2. And surprising, this is a draw from our stuff from last night. This actually holds a draw, or what we learned last night. Takes Bishop C5, E6, takes Queen E2, Rook, Queen C1 check, Queen E1, Queen takes E1, King takes E1, Bishop D3, or D4, Bishop G6, E5, King D1, E takes F, E takes F, or G takes F, Rook F8, F5 to entrench this bishop, so that now it'll stay here forever, cementing a somewhat of like an Anastasius mate. Bishop E5, Rook C6 to see if you can't go after this pawn here. Rook D8, check, King C2. Now this pawn is holding. Bishop F6. He can actually grab this pawn now. Rook takes. So now this is basically going to be a draw. King C1. Oh, Rook D2. Hold on. Somehow one of my tabs got brought up. Just 1 second. That was really odd. Hold on. Let's give it a second. Not again. Let me give it a shot again. Come on. Come on, load. Load. Finally it switched over. That was a pain in the drain. Let's get, we have to get everything put back in now. That's not fun. But hey, you know what? Oops, wrong one. Get rid of that. D5. Knight H6. Bishop E7. G2. Castles. Yep, Cataline. The Cataline. You gotta love the Cataline. And this is an open Cataline. You play the open Cataline? Oh, the Dutch is fun. Uh-oh. I missed something back here. Before. There we go. Why not bishop a3? Well, his whole idea here was to cover this pawn. I think if he played bishop a3, I'm thinking that what his plan was b3 here, and if he played pawn takes, then of course the rook hangs. And then if he plays bishop takes, pawn takes, and then he can't take because the bishop hangs. So basically he's holding on to this pawn for dear life. Yeah. Pin that wins. I always remember that. My teacher taught me that. Not again. Good. Good. C3. Bishop D3 to go after this pawn there. So H6 was played. King F1. Rook B8. Rook D7. Queen A3. Actually, the idea is to come here, and if he tries there, we can actually try here, and then maybe play something like that. Queen A3. Rook takes here. Oops, not that. Sorry. He takes there. Bishop here. A6 takes. A2. C1 check. There. Kind of takes. And then bishop D4. Bishop G6. E5. And D1. Takes. Rook F8. Now this is entrenched. Bishop E5. Rook C6. D8 check. Rook C2. Rook, actually bishop. Bishop F6 to keep this, because he's gonna lose that. King F7 is actually a surprisingly dubious move. This is actually a very bad move. Both players missed a crushing move. He could have actually played, instead of this, bishop G5 here, exclam. This move, which totally wins, was missed in time pressure. This actually is crushing. Oh, good. How you doing? Play okay. He missed it and played a dubious move under time pressure. Rook E6. Only move. This is the only move to stop mate. Boom, right there. Rook C6. Still, Rook A3 check. King B1. Rook B2 check. King A1. And then this move was an exclam. Because in the middle of everything, you're thinking, hey, grabbing a pawn, yeah. But now look, we have two passers. Rook c7, c2, rotates check, king e2, rotates, and then he's going to push f2, he takes, and then bishop takes. G5, bishop e4, king e5, yeah. Hey, how you doing? Bishop c6, bishop b4, king here, king d4, bishop f3, king e3, bishop h5, king f4, king c2, g4, king d3, f3, king d4, oh, yeah, I know how that feels. Let's see here. What in the world? 56, let me see here. Okay, there, d4. Oh, bishop d6. A5. Bishop c7. A6. Bishop b8, this is actually a mistake here. A3. Bishop takes check. King e5. Bishop b8, and they agreed to a draw here. Yeah, king. He was saying instead of this move here, king f4 is still a win. Because you can't play this pawn move here, because you always have this in between fork right there. He could try it, but then what happens is that, and you grab it, and this pawn's gonna roll up the board. If he takes, then you take, and there's not enough time to get there. So let us get into some of our puzzles. We'll try to do as many as we can tonight. We'll see if we can get 12 done like we normally do. Oh, right. Hydrated and ready to go. White. Let me see if I gotta make sure I have this right. Yep, white to mate 2. White to mate in 2. Let's see. There's first mate. We got it. And the second mate. Nice. Okay. Onward and upward to the next one. Let's see here. That should be right. Wait a second. Hold on. The king got plopped in the wrong spot. Hold on. Now we're right. There we go. Mate in 2. Mate in 2. For white. This is kind of a hard one to find. I'll see if you can find it. This is kind of a difficult one to find. So bishop, you found it. If E3, then bishop C4 is mate. If this is pushed, then bishop D2 is mate. And bishop C4 is mate. You forgot one, bishop D2. If he pushes, the other one is bishop d2. If he when he goes g5, bishop d2, and bishop c4. Yep. There you go. You got it. You got it. There we go. Onward and upward to the next one we go. Where we stop, on to the next puzzle we go. I know it's good. It sounded like I was gonna say no one knows, but hey, I did a chess one with that. Ah, come on. Work with me, work with me. There we go. Thank you. Oops, hold on. Need to move the king to a different spot. 1 sec. There we go, now we're right. Mate 2 for white. Let me make sure I have that one right. Yep, I got it, that's right. Yep. I'll give you a second for this one. I'll be right back. Knight what? Knight b3. there, then mate. If here, 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 I think that's it. I think those are the only mates. Nice. Great find there. Great job. We're starting to amp it up. Amp it up. Action man. Yeah. Oh, sorry, no knight. No knight. There we go. Now we got it. Well, this one's gotta be this one's an interesting one for sure. Yes, this is also, sorry, this is also mate 2, sorry. Mate 2, mate 2. I think this is a straightforward one. I don't think this is going to be too hard to solve. Yeah. Yeah, this one was like right in your face there. He moves there and you checkmate, yeah. Nice. That was actually a pretty cool one though to set up if you think about it. So this one's going to be a little bit more interesting. This has 2 knights and a rook. So no bishops. So 2 knights and a rook. So and a pawn. The king there, knight. Gotta get rid of that king. Get rid of this pawn. Get rid of this pawn. And then I need this knight to be right there. And this king right here. There we go. White to mate in 2. White to mate in 2. This one should be a pretty straightforward one too. You should be able to solve this one pretty efficiently in time. This shouldn't take you very long. Yep. If he goes here, it's mate, here, 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 and there. And then we have there. And even if he moves his king, don't forget the king. So if the king moves, well, the king can't move, sorry. So if the knight moves there, it's mate. So there, you're right. Anywhere the knight moves, it's mate. Anywhere. Anywhere the knight moves. So great job on that. Onward and upward to the next one we go. Yes we do, yes we do. We're making good time now. Come on. If my computer will be good, yes, we can make excellent time. Hold on a little bit longer. There we go. This should be it. Yep, and we did good. That's setting up in record time, so that's good. Let's see if we can solve this. Oh, this looks kind of like a waffle. Picture of a knight move, kind of like a yeah, yeah. That is true. True. I think H3 is a draw. I think H3 is a draw. H3 is a draw. The king can't go to, I guess he could, couldn't he? Yeah, you're right. He can go, yeah, you're right. He can go there. Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay. Sorry about that. I missed you right. He could actually go here. Yeah, good job. Then there's, let's see here. And then nothing. So we can't do anything there. So that's the only move. Great work. Okay, to the next page we go. We're making good time now. Everything's holding good. So we should be able to meet our time with our endgame too. So that'll be wonderful. Very, very wonderful. I have to do this here. And the king there, and a bishop right here. Oops, no rook. Sorry, 1 second. 1 second. No rook. Rook has to be gone with you, rook. You are no longer on our team. We have enough team members on to win this. You may be dismissed to go back to the realm. This one's straightforward too, so do not think too much on this one. If you overthink it, you'll get it wrong. Just think straightforward. That's exactly right. If you play rook here, king there is mate. If he comes up here, king there is mate. Yep. Or queen there is mate. You got it. Okay, gotta get rid of the queen. Get rid of the pawn. You give me 2 knights. And a rook for a good measure. Bang, bang. Boom. And then bam. 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 mate 2. Let me see if I have that set up right. Yep. Mate 2 for white. Let's see, the rook controls this and that. The knight controls here, the knight controls here, and the king controls these 2 points. So the king is surrounded. There's no way for the king to move. So he's surrounded. All we gotta do is find a way to check the king. Nice job. Wow, this one is like straightforward. There's no hiding the 8 ball here. This is 100% right there. Yeah, exactly. He gets a check in, but it's deadly check because we get to take back with checkmate. So gotta love that. Yeah, this is kind of a quirky one. This is actually oh, it does. Well, we do like 12 of these a night, so we're we have 2 more, and then we get to start our end game. This one's a really funny one. This one's this interesting. Uh, I know you'll solve this one. This is kind of like a straightforward one too. So don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Yep, you got it. When king takes, queen takes g2. Yep, you got her. That's one thing I'm learning about puzzles is do not overthink them. Just go with it. Yep. Okie dokie. White to mate 2. Boy, this one's interesting because if we move our king up to d2, it's a stalemate. So we can't do that. Queen h4 check. Interesting. I think that is right. Queen h2 check, king f1, and then bishop d3 is mate. Yeah. Yep. That's mate. Well, king e3 could actually happen, yeah. And then queen d2 is mate, like what you're saying. Yep. Yep, that works too. That works as well. One more, and then we start into the end game. We have to always keep up on our tactics, as I like to call them, because you know what? You gotta stay sharp and fresh to the fight, and always finish the fight too. All right. Excuse me. White to mate 2. This one's kind of funny too, so don't overthink it. Just go with it. Just go with it. Don't overthink this one. This one is right there. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just go with it. Trust me. Don't overthink this problem. It's mate and two. It's right there. It's two. It's mate and two. If you want to think about it, it's four. There's two forcing moves that lead to mate. Two forcing moves. One sets up for it, and one finishes off the mate. Yep, there you go. Yep, there it is. King here, mate. King here, mate. And king h1, mate. Yep. Yep, there's four mates. You got them. Nice job. That's the game, set, and match. Okay, we made our 12. Great job. I'm gonna put my slip in there and erase where we were. There we go. Tomorrow we get to do another 12. So, but for today, we are heading into Endgame World. Into Endgame Land. Like on Care Bears and the Nutcracker, we're entering Endgame Land. Remember when they went into they had to save that one girl, and ended up the prince was actually turned into a nutcracker. So that's kind of the one I was talking about. Pretty cool Care Bear one. I liked it when I was a kid. So that's what I always think of chess, like that it's alive. The board is alive. It's living, and if you can make it real, then you're the king, and then you can actually you'll get more out of it. Let me set up the board though, because I want to get some. Come on. Oh, great, good. I thought my computer was gonna do its fit again, throw a little fit. And we don't want that. We want it to be happy, and we want to be able to use it. So it's never fun. Let's see here. King there. Do 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 do. This should be right. Okay. I'm gonna make this into a study. I call it Queen Endgames. There we go. This is what he says. It's Queen Endgames, a tricky win, and Queen versus Rook Pawn, and Queen versus Bishop Pawn on the 7th. Unusually, a Rook Pawn will draw in a Queen and King Pawn on the 7th rank endgame. However, the position in this diagram is different. and the technique white makes use of is important. It shows how in some endgames you can allow one side to promote his pawn to a queen and still win by weaving a back rank mate-net. So we're going to learn how to, in theory, allow our opponent to actually queen this, but have a mate in the process. King g6, King g2, then King f5. But first of all, let's go back here. You have to be careful. This move here would actually lead to a stalemate. Not King f6. 1 second. I have to put a double blunder there. Not King f6, since this would lead to stalemate by black. By going King g6, white moves his king closer to the enemy pawn and simultaneously blocks the bishop's control over the g-file. To the g-file. This prevents an unpleasant stalemate. That's why he played King King to g2. Is it? Sorry, King g6. Sorry, King g6. That's what I mean, King g6. King e2, and then here, okay. In this kind of endgame, white wins if he can get his king into the box showed in this diagram. The result for this, I'll set it up 1 second, is clear, and it will be clear in a moment. Okay. There's a box like this. So if we go back, this is the box here, and if they can enter into here, let me actually make here we go. That's much better. If you can enter into this area, you remember how the box when a pawn is right here, that how you can actually go out all this distance here, and then you can find out if the king can enter the magic square. This is exactly the same setup if you can win against a rook and queen pawn. This right here, if you can enter this. King f2. Black realizes that king to h1 only leads to a loss with this move here. Surprisingly, this is an exclam move. Just helps white get his king closer to the h pawn. So king f2, b2 check, queen b2 check, and then king g1. Black loses immediately after king g3 because of bishop to hold on. Sorry. King g3 loses immediately to bishop. Sorry about that. Not that. Bishop g. Because we get to infiltrate right there. So king g1, and then king to g4. Exclam. Let's let black make. Let black make a queen. Okay. So what you are playing as white here. What is the move that wins? Black has to resign. What is the move that wins here? Black has to resign. White to move and win. Unstoppable win. Spot on. That was spot on. Exactly right. Kaboom. Nice job. Nice job. Black must resign. He can't stop queen f2 mate. Are blacks mating along any of this file here? He can't stop the mate here, and he can't get his bishop out, because if the queen out. If he does, the mate would arise here. So there's no way to get this queen out. No way to get the queen out here. So, as you can see, in the case of a rook pawn versus queen and a close king diagram that we just talked about, the queen can easily create this mate from any position along the second rank. The move, thus, if white's king gets in the box, shown in what we just did back here, this box here, he'd be able to enter it, and he entered it, he can actually win at this point. This is the box he's talking about. Let me see. Thus, if the white king gets into the box, he always wins. Note that this idea is something possible against a bishop pawn where it does not or doesn't work against other pawns. Okay, note that this idea is sometimes possible, against a bishop pawn where whether it does or does not work against other pawns is of no basically concession or consequence. Since the queen easily beats a knight pawn or a center pawn, no matter where the king might stand. Oops. So center pawn may stand. In a situation where black turns his bishop pawn into a new queen and has the move, white's king has to be on its third rank in front of the enemy king, and white's queen must be on a2 or e2 in the case of he's going to show us what he's talking about here. Just hold on. Here we go. Let's get a new board set up. A new board. I'm on. Let's get a new one. Oops. White to move and win. Queen h2 check. This is a vital move here. The king's close enough to actually doing something. The best positional square. So king e1, king f4. He can actually castle and queen, but king to e3, and black can't stop the mate and prevent all and prevent basically this from happening. There's no way to stop the mate. And white wins here by covering e2, f2, and g1 and h3, of course. The king's defends against any check against his own. So this is covered, 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 and this is covered. So these squares are covered here. No checks can black ever do. Yeah, I think we have a one back here. I think something based on that. Let me see. Pawn races. Or is it one of these? Let me see. No. Yeah, here it is. This is it right here. This is what he's talking about right here. This is what Jeremy Silva was talking about. Right here. That one. Surprisingly, this move here, I'm going to throw it into your corner, my friends. Is this move here, white to move, is it a draw or a win, my friends? A draw or a win? I have to make this into a study, so just 1 second. You got to kind of take a look at it and you got to kind of choose. What do you think? A draw or a win for white? A draw or a win? Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that that's a win? You have to always calculate, is it a win? Or is it a draw? That is the question. Just think about it for a second. Think about it for a little bit, just for a little bit, before I do any moves. I want you to take a little bit of a look at this and calculate it out for yourself and see if it's a draw or a win, and then I'll do the moves. But I want to make this so that you get endgame experience along with it. You got it. You got it. Great job there. That is right. It's a draw. This position and this position is a draw. White to move and draw. The position looks promising for white since his king is quite close, but it just doesn't come to fruition at all. Yeah, king to a1. And this king a1 is surprisingly a exclam move. Is a huge improvement, which forces a draw. See, because if you notice the other one here, he was on this side here. If he was on G2 side, like the other one, like this one here, if the king was over here on D2, it would be a win. But because the king's on B2, it's a draw. And he'll go into that. If we tried E2, if king B1 here, this is actually a complete blunder by black. This is a complete blunder. It's game over at this point, because this allows king C4. He gets the queen, but then we get to play king B3 and mate to follow. This is mate to follow. So if your opponent slips up and plays king B1, you can have joy in your heart, the sounds of, like great trumpets of victory, because you know now that you're winning. You can just come here and force him to queen, and then you come there and there's nothing that your opponent can do. But if your opponent is wise to the endgame, which at a certain level they aren't. Yeah. At a certain level, your opponents really aren't very proficient in endgames. It's sad that endgames aren't taught as much as they should be for certain levels. Trust me, I've faced certain levels before who knew certain endgames, and you could tell by their play if they know their endgame, because a lot of players who don't know their endgame will stay in the middle game really a long time. And the ones that go towards like Josh Waiskins and a lot of the Grandmasters, especially like Grandmaster Carlson. Also, he's a master endgame player. So is Gary Kasparov. And the book that I like to study is Capablanca's endgame course. He's got a really good one, and he was a master of the endgame. So I think it's a necessity to kind of have an endgame, because you never know if you're going to meet that opponent that you're higher level than them, and so they basically trade everything off to an endgame, and you're more knowledgeable in that endgame, in the endgame in general. And so then when that happens, you then can win and play towards your strength, which is an end game. Simon Williams also, Grandmaster Simon Williams, talked about that what he does is sometimes when he's facing an opponent that's 200 or so points below him, he'll take it to the end game and then basically grind his opponent down. Yeah, and that is so you need to try to get a little bit of end game in at least, because it is a vital. You can actually be down in material in an end game and still win if you know proper end game knowledge. So just some tidbits of wisdom there. Is that you? I have a face. Is that you? That's funny. That person wants to play me all the time. I don't understand why. There was a guy there was a player who challenged me, and his name was I Have a Face or something like that, and he wanted to play me on allychess.org, but we're right in the middle of endgame, and I don't want to do that. Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure, because I didn't want to be rude. Okay, so A1, queen d2, king b1, king b4, queen, and white can't make any progress here. White doesn't have, see, if it was white to move, again, he'd be winning, but it's black to move, and he's one move shy, so this is a draw. One move shy. That hurts. This is what Jeremy Silman said. And white can't win. In the case of the bishop pawn, mate is only possible if white has the move immediately after black promotes his pawn to a queen, or if the queen can safely reach one of the squares. What we're talking about, if the queen can reach here, e2 or f2. I think it's the what he's talking about is the prior one that we were talking about. As we have seen, the queen on e2 doesn't always he says ice. What that means is basically stop the win, but gets sometimes grabs the in a merry-go-round there's something called a brass ring, and he was talking about how if you grab that you get a free ride. Basically, if you can get the brass ring, you can actually win the game. And so, okay, perfect. We finished just in time. Okay, we're gonna do an overview really quick. This is a summary. He's summing everything up. Overview. Complicated positions can't be solved unless you are familiarly trained in endgame basics. So that's his overall. This is the king and pawn. This is what he gives for advice. In a king and pawn versus king and pawn situations where the defending side can give up his pawn but take the opposition, the game is a draw unless the stronger side's pawn is on the 5th rank. And I think I have one of those. Let me see if I have this here. I think this is what he's talking about right here. See, white right here. This is what he's talking about. He gives up the pawn so he gets the opposition. There you go. I think there's another one here that this is, I think, winning because it's on the 6th. Let's see if he talks about that one. It is clear that aside from simple racing conditions, like when a pawn, we did the pawn race right here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's see, where are the pawn races? Here we go. This right here. These are the pawn races that he's talking about. Simple pawn race considerations brought about by both pawns getting passed. Okay, we have to do the one that's the passed pawn. Let me see here. Both. Hold on. Here we go. This is what he's talking about right here. When these pawns get going. This is these are what he's talking about, the pawn races. This is the Reddy study. Reddy had a study that that you can actually draw this position. So the real question surrounding the king and pawn versus king and pawn theory is whether or not a pawn can be won. If a pawn does indeed drop, the assumption of the resulting position, which would surely transpose into one of our already king pawn mastery things that we just went over and I just showed you. This is what he's talking about right here. Is made by who owns the opposition, and we talked about that in this one here. If see, white plays here, and if he would have played this move here, d7 loses on the spot. But black goes d8. See, after c5 he goes d8, and at this point when he takes, now black passes the opposition to white, and it's a draw. But if he had played here, it's a loss, because now he'd have to give way and the king can come in. And then when he goes back, the king comes. Then when he goes back here, when he goes over here, the king comes in there, and this pawn just walks down the board. That's what he's talking about with that. Now we're doing, we're going to be talking about rook endgames. In rook endgames, in rook and pawn endgames, a Lucinda with a rook. So we'll go to the Lucinda section. This is we have to remember, in a rook Lucinda position, the king has to be 4 files or 4 ranks away. 4 files away. If he's closer than 4 files, then it's a draw. If he's at 4 files away or further away, it's a win for whoever has the pawn here. Another way of putting it is, if it's white, it's a win if white's king is cut off on the farthest bishop file. So the farthest, if black can cut if the white rook could cut the king off on the farthest bishop file, this is the first bishop file, the second bishop file is what he's talking about, then you have a win here. Otherwise it's a draw. Okay, in general, both sides should strive to get their rooks behind the passed pawns. We have one of these. I think we have one on here. Let me see. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, this is winning for white, because the pawn's in front and black's pawn's in front of white. This one right here is a draw, because at any time the king gets close enough to touching this pawn to free this rook up, the rook will just come over and check on b1. In the case of a passed in the case of a passed rook pawn on the 6th with the defending rook behind it, the stronger side's king must try and weave its way down the board and find shelter in front of the pawn. I'll pull up one that we were talking about that. I think this is it right here. Nope, let me see. Right here. This is the one we were talking about. This is, and what you have to do here is just maneuver yourself so that at the right moment you get in front of the pawn, and then you can remove like this. This is what Jeremy Sum was talking about. And then okay, behind strong side. Okay, when this is going to happen, having the defending rook behind the passed pawn doesn't quite hold up. So a knowledge of the Van Cura position is necessary. This is the Van Cura position that we were talking about here. This is right here. But then the next one shows that this is a complete draw. See, this is a draw. But the position 2 shows, no, this isn't it. Let me see, position, is it position, here. Position 3 shows how to get to this position. See, it shows you how to actually get to that position. So number 3 shows you come up, how black holds the position is that. Okay. The Van Cura position isn't sufficient if it's facing any pawn other than the rook pawn. So it's not sufficient if you're facing a bishop pawn, like this example right here. This allows the white king to hide. In the Vancouver position, and with the rook pawn, there's no place to hide. But in this position, there is. The king's able to hide behind the pawn on b6 as shelter. In the case of a rook pawn versus rook pawn where the defending king is trapped, one or two files to the side. I think we have this one here. This is what we're talking about. This is a winning. This is what he's talking about here. In the case of the rook pawn versus rook pawn where the defending king is trapped one file or more to the side, the result will depend on whether or not the stronger side can acquire a Lucinda position. This is determined by the following rules. A pawn on the fifth or beyond wins if the king is cut off by one file. So this is a pawn. If black had a pawn here and white's king was cut off, then it would work. And because white is on the fifth and white has a pawn on g5 and it's cut off the king by one file, it's winning. A pawn on the fourth wins if the king is cut off by two files. So let me see if I can find that one. Let me see here. No, that's one. This is a draw. Here we go. This is what they're talking about. A pawn's on the fourth, but the king is cut off by two files instead of just one. So this is a win. But if it was cut off just by one, the king is close enough to get to the rook and then it trades off and gets in front. But because it's two files, then it's a draw. I mean, it's a win for white. Okay, bishops of opposite color with connected passed pawns. Two connected passed pawns. Bishops of opposite color, bishops and two connected pawns versus bishops. Okay, number one, two connected passed pawns on the sixth are winning always. So if you have pawns on the bishop pawns on the sixth, like let me see, where would that one be? Let me get one. No, okay. Hold on, let me see if this. Nope, this isn't it. Maybe this is it. Let me get to the end. Well, he has it in there somewhere. One of those is it. So you gotta bear with me on that one. If it's on the sixth, it's winning. So if the pawns get here, if white's pawns could get to c7 or c6, then it's winning. C7 and D7 and C6 are, if it's C7 and B6, then it's winning. The correct defense only if the both pawns don't make it to the sixth. So if the pawns don't make it to the sixth rank or the third rank for black, then and it can't be barricaded, then it's losing. So call for the king to be in front of one of them and the bishop to guard the other queen square. Okay, now we're going to be going over fortresses. It was a quick section on fortresses, a very small section. Fortresses in a bishop endgame. Fortresses in a bishop up endgame are fairly common due to the bishop's inability to control all the squares. It's always stuck on one. This is considered a draw here. This is considered a draw here. And surprisingly, this is a win for white. And the reason is here, because then you can take. But the two other examples will allow this to happen. He goes back and forth, then a draw. And now this one here, even though you oops, come on. Even though, okay. Okay. It all depends on, is it the queen's square? Is the queen's square the right color? And that also depends if the queen's square is the right color for the bishop or the wrong color. And if it's the wrong color, it's a draw if it's a rook pawn. And there are no fortresses for a bishop pawn, queen pawn, or a king pawn with a bishop up endgame. And we just showed that. There is no, come on, work with me. Oh boy. Not again. Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? Okay. These are his, those were, yeah, okay, good. Those were just some of the fortresses and stuff that we went over. So now this is his final thoughts before we enter another chapter, but we'll do that tomorrow, but not right now. His final thoughts. Complex rook endgames are the main focus of was the main focus of the section that we talked about. And it takes a certain amount of chess strength, tactic, clarity, and ability to absorb basically the complicated patterns, and work through to absorb the material present basically in the chapter we talked about, and applying it successfully in doing so. This is not only vital that you players should actually go through Class A in Jeremy Soma's book, but he says it speaks volumes and it will help you climb the ladder of your whatever class that you're in. At this point, you could easily basically rest on your whatever end game you have at this moment, and you won't have to go any further in the book, he said. But if you wanted to, he says this way, and this is what he says, and he says if you want to turn the page, but this is the section. He says at this point you can easily rest on your endgame knowledge for the rest of your life and never have to basically go back to the book. But who wouldn't want to study their endgame? It's so much fun. The final phase of the game is reached. However, why stop here? You've done the vast majority of all the hard work, and will be surprised to find that the expert section concentrates more on the concepts and makes use of material you already have possessed. Then the memorization of ideas that we probably went over. So when you're ready and you feel like you're powered up and ready to go, basically he says that, feel free to open to part 7. So basically he's saying we could stop here and be
sufficient with our end game, or do we want to dive deeper into our into the next section? We want to, of course, the correct answer is we're diving in, but we're doing it tomorrow. So, do you have any questions before I log off? Oh, it's Jeremy Silman's Endgame course from beginner to master. All right. Okay, are you ready? Do you have any questions? All right. Well, do you know what? Great job on sticking with us and holding in there. Sometimes my computer works, sometimes it has a sitch. But you know what? We have to keep pushing forward no matter what. And so I remember what Yaz Sarawan says, every long journey begins with one small step. And remember, like what Tom Thumb Thumb said, treasure your victories and learn from your losses. And remember that mistakes do not define you. It's how you handle the mistake that defines you. And we become what we think about. Bruce Lee says, knowing is not enough, you must apply, and willing is not enough, you must do. He also said that there are no limits to the human potential, but there are plateaus, and you must not stay there. You must go beyond them. He added that he didn't fear the person who did 10,000 individual kicks. He feared the person who did one kick 10,000 times. So I don't really fear the player that knows a lot of opening or middle game. You should fear the person who knows a lot about end game, because they'll take you to the end game and then grind you down, and you'll end up making one mistake in time pressure, and then they got you. So that's what you gotta remember. And also remember, never come to the board without your Grandmaster glasses on. It's vital that you bring your calculating glasses. And I think I said you become what you think about. We become what we think about. If I said it already, it is important again to say, because whatever you think about ends up becoming basically who you are, because that's what you focus on. So if you think about positive things like the Lord Jesus, and that you can do, you're good at end game, you're good at middle game, and you're good at openings, then those thoughts will also blend over into your studies, and for some reason our mind will absorb it better. I don't know what it is, but positivity helps with absorption. Also, having fun with the information helps with the absorption too. So you need to laugh, giggle, and have fun when you make mistakes. I know it's hard to do, but you have to do it. And like what we always say about in the chess cruncher model, don't give up, get up, and remember, always, always keep your ground weeded. What that means is you can't spend a second twice. So what I've learned from my family is don't waste that second. It's precious. It's a gift the Lord's given you, and use it to better the talent that He's given you. But you know what? When others are playing and you're studying, and they come over and ask, like Tigger, what's a Tigger? What are you doing? You could say, I'm a chess cruncher. What's a chess cruncher? A chess cruncher hangs up their coat, they hang up their hat, they sit down and study, when most won't. A chess cruncher does, and that makes all the difference. It makes all the difference in your school, and it makes all the difference in OTB, over the board play. But always, always remember, never forget to bring the Lord in. He's the one who gives us our strength, our mind, our breath, and everything. So never forget the Lord. But and I'll leave you with that. I'll leave you with this one thought. Think about studying the end game a little bit more. From your friend, Chess Cruncher. Okay, as Wesley so says to the Lord Jesus, as I say, God bless. I'll see you next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, and evening, the Lord willing. I'll be back on tomorrow, and we'll keep pushing forward. And we'll start the next section of Expert in our end game, and that's going to be fun. Great job. Go Team Chess Cruncher, hoorah. Keep studying your end games and always, always honoring the Lord and having fun in chess and bringing people to chess as well. Okay, bye-bye. Be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow. Great job.